entire coverage of the Jeffery Young Thug case. Here's something I haven't had the opportunity to say very often. I think for the entire 2 hours we're going to be covering this case. It has been such a sketchy process, but we are catching you up on some testimony from the Young Thug racketeering case. And when we left off, we were listening to the testimony of A.B., allegedly a victim of a robbery at the hands of defendant Jeffery Williams. She was so reluctant to show up for her testimony, she was taken into custody. I had a witness warrant for her. They brought her to court. She had to spend a night in jail. I think they put her in a hotel last night. Nonetheless, let's get back into court for more of that testimony.
Ms. Bennett, before we were allowed to recess for a break, the state put before you a picture, a photograph we've labeled as State's Exhibit 30 Alpha Alpha. You recognize the people in the photograph, don't you?
Yeah, not all of them.
You recognize yourself in that photograph, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a true and accurate representation of you in that photograph, isn't it?
You asked me, is that me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, could you ask me that? Yes.
All right. Your Honor, the state tender State's Exhibit 30 Alpha Alpha as evidence.
Any objection to stage 30 Alpha Alpha?
No objection to the exhibit. Other than previous objection in regards to the timing of disclosure.
All right, I'll sustain. I'll overrule the objection, and it may be published as you see fit.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett, would you look at the picture up on here behind you and take this pointer and show the jury where you are in this photograph?
Mm-hmm.
Show the jury where Micah Anderson is in this photograph.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Williams, or Thug, is in this photograph as well, isn't he?
Yes.
Show the jury where he is.
Right now.
Trontavious Stevens, or Tick, or Slug, is in this photograph as well, isn't he?
I don't know.
Do you know Tick or Slug?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah? Thank you. The person here.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that last response.
No.
Okay. Do you recognize this person here?
No, I barely can see him.
All right.
No, I barely can see him.
This person here, he's called Bloody J, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Who else do you recognize in the photograph, please?
That's it.
All right. We spoke briefly a minute ago about Donovan Thomas. Donovan Thomas was ABG, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Bennett, approximately what year was the photograph that is State's Exhibit 30 Alpha Alpha taken?
I couldn't even tell you that.
Was it before or after January 10th, 2015?
I was locked up then.
Thank you for that information. I'm asking you if this photograph was before or after January 10th, 2015.
It had to be before because, as I stated, I was locked up then till 2017.
Well, you'll agree with me, you're not locked up now, so we have to ask, right?
And I answer you. I said it had to be before because you're saying 2015 I was locked up. So yes, it had to be before.
Thank you. Now, also, you spoke with Mr. Adams on cross-examination about Micah Anderson and Thug and their relationship as it relates to music. Do you know whether they continued that relationship after January the 10th of 2015?
That'd be something you had to ask them. I was locked up.
So you don't know, is that your testimony?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And does the date January 10th, 2015 have any significance to you?
Yes.
For what?
I was locked up.
Besides that?
That's it.
Did we discuss that date when we met on Moreland Avenue?
I don't know if you discussed that.
Did we discuss that date as the date that Donovan Thomas was murdered?
Now you didn't tell me what day he was murdered.
You didn't speak about that date?
You spoke about him, but I don't think you spoke on what day he was murdered. But I was locked up again.
Ms. Bennett, would you agree with me that testifying against even other gang members or even rival gang members to a gang you're affiliated with is not something that is looked favorably upon?
I don't understand.
It is not looked upon favorably. Do you look upon it favorably to testify against people in court? Do you think that that is something that is good, bad,
Objection, Your Honor.
or nothing in the middle?
I sustain the questions.
I don't know.
Would you tell the jury why you were so upset at having to appear and testify in this trial?
Why was I upset?
Yes.
I wasn't really upset. I was just upset about, like, I talked to somebody a while ago. He asked me about a police report. I told him that I don't recall or I didn't make it. And after that, I think probably like y'all started contacting me later and asking me the same thing, and I was giving my same answer. So I feel like I wasn't present.
You did not tell the investigator that you did not make the police report. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I told him I didn't make the police report.
You just said that you told the investigator, I didn't recall. Which one was it?
Both.
So if you don't recall, how are you able to say I didn't make it?
What you mean?
Just that.
That's why I told him.
If you don't recall the incident and don't recall 2013, how are you able to recall that you did not make that police report?
Because when he showed it to me, I read it. I knew I didn't do it.
So you do recall 2013?
Yeah, some of it.
Okay. Well, that's different than what you said to me at first, isn't it?
No, you asked me, do I remember 2013? And I told you that I do remember some of it, but some of it I blocked out. That's exactly what I told you.
You didn't tell me you had blocked out all of that time.
I ain't say all of it because you asked me something that happened in 2013. I told you I had my son.
Now, you spoke about your 12-year-old son.
I don't have a 12-year-old son.
11-year-old life.
Yes.
You talked about your 11-year-old son being present when you were taken into custody after not appearing in court. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Interesting background info from AB here, and I think critical for the jury to get a bigger picture of why she's there, why she's maybe a little concerned about being there. Jasmine Rand is here, Katherine Lizardo. So, Katherine, I've never been locked up. I've been closed, but those were contempt issues, nothing to worry about. But I would think it would be memorable, and it was for this witness when she was trying to put a date on this picture, a picture of her with some of the co-defendants, including young Thug. How does that part of her personal history affect a jury like this? She just kept saying, well, no, I was locked up then. I was locked up then.
Well, it affects her credibility because they're trying to figure out why was she locked up to begin with. There's no follow-up question as to why. And the whole time she's being questioned, I'm sure that's what the jury were thinking about and were distracted about, even if further testimony was relevant. Whenever something isn't answered, your mind wanders into that, because that's where my mind was the whole time. And I kind of blacked out, using her word, the rest of her testimony. But here also, it shows that she has a criminal record around that time. And that also affects her credibility as to whether or not she's a truthful witness or she's here because she's telling the truth. And there are a lot of back and forth between the prosecution and the defense regarding that. So the jury has a lot to weigh with this witness for sure.
We've talked a little bit about this, Jasmine. Whenever I see a witness presented by either side, I just start wondering, okay, what was the purpose? Where are we going? Is this helping either the case in chief or the defense? And I'm still working on it with this particular witness, partly because of her hesitancy to be a witness, partly because what she may or may not remember, partly because she feels intimidated. So I'm just looking for anything that the prosecution might get out of this witness. Help me.
Well, I don't know what they're going to get out of the witness if the jury's as confused as I am right now, because we have an alleged armed robbery of this witness, AB, in 2013. Then we have a photograph that the prosecution just introduced of her supposedly with Young Thug and some others in 2015. So supposedly she's comfortable enough to be around him 2 years later to take a picture with him. So that kind of undermines the credibility of whether or not this 2013 incident happened. And then we find out she did a stint in jail for 2 years. Again, we're distracted because we're wondering what she was in jail for, but that does shed more light into maybe why she doesn't trust law enforcement and maybe why she's scared of law enforcement. I think anybody who has, I would imagine, anybody's engaged in criminal activity isn't eager to be back around police or investigators or law enforcement who might try to hold something over their head. And you know, there's probably some fear of one day going back to jail. I don't know. Yeah,
that's a great point. Just for the record, Jasmine, Katherine, if you ever point a gun at my head, we're done. Okay, that'll be it. We will not be hanging out 2 years later. Let's take a break. We'll come back to that court in Fulton County. We'll see what's going to happen with this witness next, the Young Thug trial. Here we are.